There are certain things that actors do when it comes to auditions that instantly make them mess the scene up and significantly reduce their chances of getting called through to a recall or booking the role. But what are these things? We're going to dive into them in this week's episode. You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. With me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid, working, unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready? Hello and welcome to another deep dive episode. I'm so excited today. I do not want you messing up your auditions. I've messed up plenty in the past, absolutely loads. And therefore, I want you to learn from my mistakes so you can go into every single audition feeling confident, oozing presence, making bold character choices, so you absolutely give yourself the best chance of getting recalled and getting through to the next round, or booking a job off the back of the audition. So as you know, self-tapes are a big thing at the minute. They're huge because they allow casting directors to see way more actors than they would be able to if they hired out a room, where obviously time is limited and they can only fit a certain amount of actors into a day in in-person auditions. And also as well, they keep the cost down for casting directors because they're not having to hire a room, so they can see way more actors, which means you have got more of a chance of being seen by the people you want to be seen by. But self-tapes can be a little bit scary, can't they? Because you're not getting directed. There's no chance to show the casting director that you can take direction. So you're having to self-direct, and that can cause stress. So we are going to look at the quickest way to mess up auditions so you don't do any of these things. Now, if you're brand new to the Unstoppable Actors podcast, hello. So good to have you here. I'm Louise. I've been coaching actors for almost 13 years, and I am an expert in method acting and the business of acting. And under my guidance, my acting students have gone from unknown actors with blank CVs, not a clue how to get started. They just had a big passion for acting and knew that this was the only thing that they could do. And they've been able to land roles in Netflix dramas, TV soaps, Amazon Prime films, stage plays around the world. How exciting. And get signed by some of the most incredible agents in the business who have then gone on to help open more doors for them. And this is what I want for you. If you're returning to the Unstoppable Actors podcast, welcome back. It is always a pleasure to have you here, and I am so grateful that you tune in to each and every episode. So, as always, we are going to start with some feedback that I received on the podcast, which I always love sharing with you. I always love doing a shout out to the listeners, which is obviously you. So if you want to give me any feedback on the podcast and share how it's been helping you, there's a few ways you can do this really. You can come to Instagram, which is at Standby Method Acting Studio, and drop a DM. You can also join our Unstoppable Actors Facebook group and share a message in there, as many of our acting students do. Or you can drop me an email, louise@standbymethod.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you. So this shout out goes to Christian. Christian reached out to our Instagram page. He sent a DM and he said, "Hi, I listen to your podcast every week on my way to work and it's always so inspiring. I want to turn around and go home to practice and study. Your episodes are really inspiring and also very valuable. Thank you." Thank you, Christian, for tuning in to each and every episode. It means the absolute world to me to receive messages like this. I say this on most podcasts, or on most episodes, should I say. It's always really nice to see the faces of the listeners, which is you, because as I always say, I sit here recording these podcasts knowing who I want to record them for, but not actually knowing who listens. So I am really just talking to an imaginary actor in my head. I know that sounds bonkers. But then when I get those emails through or the DMs on Instagram, then I go, oh, now I know who I'm actually recording these episodes for. And it is so exciting. So thank you for reaching out, Christian. And if you want to reach out and let me know how you're getting on with the episodes, please send me a message and you could be getting a shout out on the next episode. But for now, let's just dive into the quickest way to mess up your auditions, which obviously I know you don't want to do that. Before I share what these things are, which I have done every single one of these, by the way, so when I share them with you, let's not criticise ourselves, let's not shame ourselves, let's just use it as a learning curve, right? Because the great thing about an acting career is we can forever learn and improve. But at the end of this episode, I've got something super amazing for you that I think you are going to absolutely love. So make sure you listen all the way to the end and let's dive in. So the quickest way to mess up auditions then, first, is to go into the audition flat. What do I mean by that? I mean you've got no energy. This can be for both self-tapes, Zoom auditions, and in-person auditions. When you go in flat, the performance is boring. There's no other way to say it. It's just not engaging. And you will disengage your audience very, very quickly. And your audience at an audition is, as I always say, a director, a casting director, maybe even the writer in some cases, maybe even the producer in some cases. You don't want to bore them. You don't want them disengaged and disconnected. You want them on that character journey with you. Energy comes from figuring out what the character stands to lose in the scene. And that is where you generate the energy. You can also generate energy from nerves, but there's a delicate balance with that because sometimes nervous energy can become very, very, very big and then it can overpower the performance and we don't want to do that. So I would say the best way to generate the energy is to figure out what the character stands to lose in the scene and ensure you are aware of what it feels like in your own body when you are giving a flat performance, because when you know what that feels like, you can move away from it. So flat performances are the quickest way to mess up an audition and not get the role. And I definitely do not want that for you. I at least want you getting recalls. Well, I definitely want you bagging the roles. But if you sometimes there's a lot of variables at play that are out of your control, Maybe another actor comes along who's got a bigger profile than you and that's why they get cast. But I at least want you getting recalls because that's positive feedback. The second quickest way to mess up auditions is to not make clear choices. And there are two ways you need to make choices. You've got to make choices in the scene and you've got to make character choices. Don't go in wishy-washy. Wishy-washy means you've not made a choice, it's neither here nor there, you kind of sat on the fence, it's a little bit vanilla. We don't want that. We want you making clear choices, because even if you make a choice that could be deemed as the wrong choice, at least you've made a choice and you've committed to it, and the director or casting director or, whoever is going to be deciding who gets through to the next round or booking the role, at least they can see you make choices. Then if you get through to a recall, say this is a self-tape where obviously, you can't get direction. But if you do get through to a recall, at least then you can take direction and you can make another choice based on whatever direction you get. But you have to go in and make choices. If you don't go in and make a choice, you may as well not audition. Do not play it safe. When you play it safe, you get overlooked. You can listen to any actor on interviews, from like the Hollywood Reporter to SAG-AFTRA interviews to, BAFTA interviews. When these actors, and I'm thinking specifically about an interview that I listened to with Leonardo DiCaprio, I listened to this years ago, but what he said has always stuck in my mind. He was auditioning for This Boy's Life, and De Niro was obviously on the panel because he's in the film. And I remember in this interview, Leonardo DiCaprio saying he knew he had to go in and do something different to make him stand out. And he did. And I can't remember what he said that he did now, but he said he definitely made a choice that no other actor had made. And it was a little bit scary to make this choice, but he did it. And then after he'd done it, De Niro came up to him and whispered in his ear something along the lines of like, good job, kid, or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But that is what you've got to do. You've got to make a clear choice. You've got to take a risk and you've got to be bold, brave and courageous, because that is what makes you stand out and get remembered. Now, the other thing that is going to lead to you messing up the audition is leaving the character prep to the very last minute. You just don't want to do that. When you leave the character prep to the last minute, what you are doing is you are causing a lot of stress in your body. And then that stress gets carried through into the audition, and that energy is palpable. It gets picked up and felt by whoever your audience is, whoever is watching your self-tape or your Zoom audition or your in-person audition. Leaving character prep to the last minute is a really bad idea. Yes, I know self-tapes and auditions usually come along when life picks up and gets insanely busy, but you as an actor have to learn how to manage your time. And you have to prioritise the audition, because I'm presuming you want the lifestyle of an actor. I'm presuming you know how much your life could change when you get that breakthrough role. But you don't get that breakthrough role by leaving character prep work to the last minute. It just doesn't happen like that. Do not be a last minute Larry. We want those actors who are able to manage their time and get the head down with the character prep work as soon as is humanly possible, with life in the mix as well. Because you will go into the audition more confident, more assured, more at ease, really just oozing passion for this role. And when you don't leave the character prep work to last minute, you'll be more likely to play around because you feel more confident with the character. So don't leave the character prep work to last minute. You are doing yourself a massive, massive, massive disservice. And also as well, when you do that, you start setting the tone for your career, right? And you will start to get into bad habits when it comes to actually getting cast, and you'll start to leave your character prep work to last minute then when you're actually casting a film or a stage play or a commercial or whatever it is. We don't want to do that. Unstoppable actors go in super prepared. So please do not be a last minute Larry. I hope I've drilled that in enough for you. Right, next point then. Don't learn your lines in a pattern. Learning your lines in a pattern is one of the quickest ways to mess up your audition, because what you do is you will get stuck in a way of delivering the lines from a place of rote. And rote just means there is no life in what you're doing. And it also means that if you break that pattern of what you've learned of how you say your lines, you will forget your lines. So you don't want to do that. Do not learn your lines in a pattern. You always want to be spontaneous and fresh with them, as if you are saying them for the very first time. So instead of learning the lines, learn the intentions, and then the lines come as a result. Now, what I do is I always leave learning my lines to the very last thing. And you might think, whoa, hang on a minute, is that not like #stress central? No, because if I learn my lines first, I get stuck in a pattern with them. I absolutely get stuck in a pattern with them. And then there's just no vitality behind them. There's no meaning. There's no connection to them. I may as well just be a little puppet pouring lines out. It's just not worth it for me. So I've learned that I have to leave them till last. But because I've done all the character prep work leading up, they go in anyway. And it's actually a far easier way for me to learn lines. So maybe test that out. Try it. In fact, the best way or the best place for you to try this out with zero pressure is inside the 2 weeks to stand out self-tapes challenge, which has started today. Now, just because it started today doesn't mean you've missed it or you've missed out. You can still join. You can still join up until the 4th day of the challenge. So I would encourage you to be testing, leaving your lines till last to learn inside that challenge, because there's nothing that you stand to lose in there. You're not going to make an idiot of yourself, are you? You're not going to lose a job. In fact, you're going to be supported, you're going to be nurtured, you're going to be encouraged, and you're going to get feedback. The best place to make mistakes, always, any of these mistakes, is inside the training, so you can iron them out. It is not in an audition where there is a lot at stake. So I would definitely recommend you come and join that. The link is underneath the description. It's only £35. You could turn that £35 into a job in an independent film that pays you a minimum of £150 per day. So even if you only get 1 day on set shooting, well, you've more than doubled that money, haven't you? Yeah? You've quadrupled it, that £35 investment. So I definitely encourage you to come and join. Now, the next way that you will mess up your auditions super quick is trying to play an emotion and holding on to it. I know we get super excited as actors when we've manage to connect to the emotion and we can feel it rushing through the body and we're like, woohoo! Internally like, yes, I've hit the emotion. And we're so excited. It's like we're waving this big flag because we want everybody to see this emotion, everybody and anybody. But that's not true to life. And you've got to remember, as actors, we are holding a mirror up to society, as Stanislavski said. People don't hold on to emotions. People try and get rid of emotions. People don't like showing emotions. So don't try and play it and then strangle the life out of it, because it gets your performance sucked into a one-dimensional version of this character's reality. When you've got it, let the emotion take you on a journey. Be guided by it, but don't strangle the life out of it. It just makes you look like you're a bad actor, and you're not a bad actor. You know, don't judge your own performance by whether you actually got a big emotional connection or not, because emotional connections can be subtle as well. You know, the amount of times I've done scenes and the emotional connection and the emotional life inside of me has been so small, like on a level 1 scale. And yet directors have said to me, wow, that was so truthful, that was so authentic. It's crazy. I know it plays with our minds as actors because we think emotions have to be big all the time, but they absolutely don't. But whatever you do, do not hold on to the emotion for dear life, because then what you start to do is play a mood, and that's not great. It just means the scene gets stuck, and we don't want it to get stuck. Scenes are forever evolving. Characters are forever evolving. And then the next point, the next way of messing up your audition is standing still and rooted in one spot. Do you know why that will mess up your auditions? Because it's not truthful to life. You are playing a character who behaves. So if you stand still and rooted in one spot, that's because you don't know what the character is doing, so make a choice. The character is always doing something. So ask yourself, what are they doing whilst they're talking? Don't just try to make the lines sound like they've got life in them. Otherwise, that would be voiceover acting, wouldn't it? Make sure you embody the role as well. You embody the emotions, you embody the intentions, you embody the behaviour. Even if it's scratching your face, that still tells a story. You're still doing something. But whatever you do, don't get rooted in one spot with your arms down by your side, because you will become so aware of your arms and your hands, and then you'll start to overthink, like, oh my God, what do I do with my hands? What do I do with my arms? And then before you know it, you're out of the performance. You're disengaged. And if you're disengaged, so is the casting director. So don't stand still, rooted in one spot. I'm not saying you have to go crazy and run around the space and take up the frame if it's a self-tape and, you know, constantly be moving and looking like you've got ants in your pants. You don't need to do that, but you also don't need to be rooted. You need to find what the character is doing. Now, next point. If this is an in-person audition, and this doesn't apply to self-tapes, but if this is an in-person audition, the quickest way to mess it up is not taking direction. You need to make sure you are listening, you hear what the direction is, and you put it into practice. Now, sometimes the students who train with me, I will give them the same direction 5 times. And then I will say to them, I've given you this direction 5 times now, this bit of coaching, and you haven't implemented it. And then I ask them, what do you think that will do? It would do, if you were in an audition situation or if you were on set. And then I tell them it takes up time. You have to be able to implement direction straight away, because time is money in the acting industry. So if you're in an audition and you've been given the same direction, I don't think this would happen in an audition, but let's just hypothesize and say it would. If you were given the same direction 5 times, you are now eating into someone else's audition. If this is on set or in rehearsals for a stage play, again, you're eating into the rehearsal time. You've got to be able to take direction quickly. It shows that you're an actor who listens and who can take on board what's been said and implement it. You show you're an actor who can stand on your own 2 feet, and that's what I need you to be. That is going to give you a really good chance of standing out from all the other actors and getting called through to the next round. Because if you can take direction, then what you're showing the casting director is that you can collaborate, you're easy to work with. The next way to mess up your audition is to not bother training. Just getting yourself out to auditions and, you know, thinking, oh, I don't need training, training's too expensive, I don't want to spend money, I just want to be an actor. But here's the thing, you're not going to learn a technique, and you need a technique. There are particular exercises that you need to do that are going to carry you through auditions, that are going to carry you through to the recall stages, to the final round and to booking the role. If you don't train, you are essentially cutting your nose off to spite your face. I understand money can be tight, and if that is a problem, then, you need to find a way to save up. Find a way, like even if it's £10 a week that you can save up, or £10 a month to be able to do that. Or even if it's listening to these podcasts until you've got enough money to invest in training, then do it. But you must train, because training not only gives you techniques, but it also gives you feedback. It gives you the opportunity to mess up and make all the mistakes that you need to make in the training and not out there in the industry. When you mess up in auditions, yes, you get to learn from it, but then you're also messing up in front of the people who are the ones who are making the decisions about whether you get cast or not. Make the mistakes in the training where there's not as much at stake. And then the final way to mess up your auditions is stressing. And there could be all sorts of things that you stress about: what you look like, getting there on time, your lines, whether you can connect to it. Make relaxation an essential part of your audition process, because that will connect you to your imagination far quicker than stress ever will. Stress disconnects you from your imagination. You can't be creative when you're stressed. Stress also disconnects you from your memory. Under stress, memory is the first thing to go, so you're going to forget the lines. So when you're stressing, you're disconnecting from your imagination and you're putting yourself in a position where you can't remember the lines. Is that the kind of audition you want to give? I don't think it is. But stress comes from not feeling confident in what you're doing. Stress comes from a lack of belief in yourself. It can also come from last-minute prep work as well. So I encourage you to come and join the 2 weeks to stand out self-tape challenge. Because when you do that, you are going to be given a proven set of exercises that will connect you to the role quicker than you're connecting to it now. And then when you go into self-tape auditions or in-person auditions after this challenge, because you also get a workbook, at the end of it, you're going to get a workbook that shows you step by step what you need to do, which you will have already done physically and practically in the challenge, but then you've got it to take away with you to remember forever. So the next time you get an audition, all you need to do is follow the steps in the workbook. You won't feel stressed because you'll know exactly what to do. You will show up as the consummate professional, even if you've not got very much experience under your belt, even if you're still a bit rusty or shaky or unconfident with auditions. Because you've got that step-by-step guide, you'll feel confident, and that will change how you show up for the character. That will change what you are able to deliver as the character. So to join the 2 weeks to stand out self-tapes challenge, click the link underneath this episode. As soon as you pay £35, you will get access to the group where this challenge takes place, and you will get access to the exercises. The exercises will only take you about 20 minutes per day. Everybody's got 20 minutes. If you're saying you haven't, you really need to question whether you want to be an actor or not. So you've got all the exercises in there. You get the workbook to take away. You get my feedback, my coaching every step of the way. £35 is the cheapest way to get access to the method. You can't get method acting training anywhere for £35. So it's highly favourable for you to do this, because it will absolutely turn around your self-tapes. And even what you learn in this, you'll be able to apply to in-person auditions as well. Honestly, you will feel amazing at the end of it, and you'll know what you're doing, so come and join it. Now, with all that said, I hope this has been very insightful. I hope you feel like you've got more information and more knowledge on auditions, and I hope you've recognised the sorts of mistakes that you're currently making so you can stop them, so you can become self-aware and stop them. I will see you in the next episode. I have absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. Now, if you did, I'd really love you to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a review. And if you would like weekly injections of inspiration, you'd like mini method acting challenges to keep you making progress with your dreams, come and join the most supportive acting community online by clicking the link in the notes to help you become an unstoppable actor.